Hello and welcome to the first ever video for a hobby librarian.
I'm Bees.
And I'm Blood and Fury.
And today we're going to show you how to make wonderful Nurgly things out of expanding foam.
Sloppy Nurglings.
So I bought a second-hand Hellbrute and I wanted to make it a bit more Nurgly, a bit more disgusting, a bit wider. So Blood and Fury is going to show us how to do that.
Yeah, so basically what you do is, first of all, you can see I've glued the arms back onto this thing after cutting them off, and that's just to give the whole thing a framework to work off. I've also used bits of sprue to extend the body to the place that I want it, so that when I put on the expanding foam, the body will be larger and more bulky. Also, wear gloves because this stuff gets as sticky as a sloppity ball piper's armpit. So I'm going to be applying the expanding foam onto the model in any of the gaps or any place that I want there to be some sludge or pus or anything like that. I would suggest only placing it where you want it in one place at a time, because if not, it gets a little bit crazy. This stuff does expand quite quickly, as it's meant to, and yeah.
So is the idea that you just keep working with it?
Yeah, you just keep working with it until you're happy with it. The best thing to do is apply some and then just start really poking it and moving it around. We're not actually looking for the expanding foam to stay in its intended form. Yeah, we're looking for it more to become more like a snot, really.
That's perfect for what we want.
Exactly. Once you get it to a
snot-like
consistency, you can then start moving it around, and it becomes a lot easier to work with. And don't worry about it. If it becomes very compact, it will expand out again. And in fact, sometimes you have to keep going back and stirring it around.
And popping bubbles and things.
Popping bubbles, exactly. Just to get it to do...
There goes the arm.
Yep. That's why I decided after this video that probably should tell people just to work on one thing at a time, because things like that happen, and it can be frustrating. Just keep moving it around at this point. All you're trying to do is get it to compact so it's easier to use. Just keep moving it around, keep shaping it, and you can start to put it into where you want it to be, and you even start stretching it out. And it all depends on the make of the expanding foam, how long it takes to actually become more solid, but eventually it will. And once it starts to do that, you can then start putting it into places that you want it to look like string. You can put it into places where you want it to look like a gross pustule. You can even have it so it looks like an open wound. Basically, your imagination is your limit, and just keep going until it starts to solidify, really.
It goes a bit yellow, doesn't it, at that point?
Oh yeah, it will go very yellow.
So it starts off looking like this sort of cottage cheesy white colour, and then the more you work with it, you'll start to see it sort of change into this sort of slimy yellow colour.
Yeah.
Where it's a lot smoother and a lot more sticky.
Yeah, totally. And it will get stickier as it dries. So if you think it's sticky at the start, you ain't seen nothing yet. Now it's at the consistency we want it to be at, we can actually start working with it properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the modelling tool, and I'm going to take a bit of the expanding foam by placing the modelling tool into it and trying to spin the modelling tool in order to pick a piece up. Once I've got a piece, I will then stretch it over where I want it. And you can do this to make a variety of different effects. You could use it to split up a pustule to make it look like it's coming out of two areas. You can use it to make a drip. You can do it to make it look like skin is being stretched.
And I guess you could use it so over a bit of detail, so you've got a big pustule on one side and then you've got a string of skin over the detail, so you don't lose all of the detail.
Yeah, you can make it very three-dimensional so you can see through it. If you look on the back of this thing, which I think you'll see later, you can see that I've left the spine, and I'm now dragging this expanding foam up onto that pipe to make it look like he's lifted his arm out and it's just pulled a load of gunk with him. It's really, really good stuff for Nurgle and making things look gross, which is the reason why I use it. So once it's started to dry, it'll expand again. Sometimes you don't want it to be as expanded as it is, so you can just pop it and just stab it in every way you want, and it will deflate like a balloon and leave horrible, gross, almost grubs coming out of it. So you just pop it, get it back to the position you want it, and then you can just start working on it. And it's really a case of just rinsing and repeating and going over the same area multiple times just until it either stops expanding or it's expanded to the point that you want it. And at this stage it becomes even easier to work with because it's starting to dry and it will really cling to your tool and cling to anything it touches. So on that, just be warned that it will cling to anything it touches, so be very careful not to get it all over the details that you want to keep. As you can see here, there's a rather large bubble appeared, and you can keep that and you can make it into a giant eyeball or whatever you want it to be, but I didn't really want it there, so I just pop it and then I use the stuff that's on the modelling tool and I just move it around to make it look like bits of stringy slime and horribleness. You can bring it, as you can see, it's quite stretchy and it will go pretty much any way you want it to. So, and it's its own adhesive, so you don't really have to worry about gluing it down. It will just stick there, and once it's there, it's pretty much stuck once it's dry. Once that first arm is dry, I then move on to the second arm. It's a lot easier to let the first side dry. Obviously then you're not going to move it around, it's not going to get stuck to everything like your face, and then you can just keep working until you've got it as gross as you can get it.
So I wanted a big old belly on this thing because it's a Nurgle miniature, and what's a Nurgle miniature without a belly? So I asked Bud and Fury to make him gain some weight.
We like fat boys!
So this is exactly the same as it is before. You just put the expanding foam on and you keep working with it. But for this, because we wanted quite just a nice round belly, once it got into the right consistency, we left it just to expand on its own, and so we'd get a sort of a smooth something. What's smooth?
An egg. Now that the model's completely dry, you can leave it there if you want, but you don't have to. You can come in with a modelling knife, you can remove any parts that you aren't very happy with, or if there's any parts that have gone over bits that you didn't want covered by expanding foam, you can just come in and cut them away. The stuff is really easy to cut away. It's foam after all, and it feels pretty much like polystyrene when it's done. The only thing I would say is just be careful, because when you do cut it away from a large area, there could be bubbles and things underneath that you couldn't see. So really just use it to chip away at things like these tentacles that I'm now doing it on. You can also use it to mould little holes or dents or pock marks, or where little bugs have gone in, and ugh, gross. And with that, the model's complete. And you can see he's got his big old lumpy stomach, and he's rock solid. So yeah, see, you can see little bits here, and that looks like intestines and things burst out the side, and down his leg looks like it's all burst down his leg. You can also use it to cover the base if you need to, so you can have him just standing on slime.
And at this point, is this now ready to be base coated?
Yep, you can just base coat straight over this. I would use a white, and maybe in the future we'll do a video about how to paint it, and I'll give my ideas on how you make it look really disgusting and infected and horrible.
Awesome, thank you so much for watching, everyone. It's been really fun making this video. We are a bit rough around the edges at the moment, but hopefully we'll improve in time, and if you do have any constructive criticism, please let us know. If you want to keep up to date with what we're doing, any future videos we're working on, any projects that we've got in progress, then you can follow both of us on Twitter, and we'll put the links in the description below.
Cheers guys, catch you next time.